Okay, so we've done our layout of our ramps, so now we want to look at adjusting the ramps. So if we launch up, you'll see you've just got them overlapping here, loads of stuff. It looks a little bit hard to manage, so what we'll do is, and we'll just select the left ramp, select all of it. Don't select the wall we've used as a catch at the end, because if you select two different types of objects, these are all ramps, that's a wall, you'll lose the ability to modify everything. So Shift unclick on that. All of the ramps are selected, so we can change the material to, let's use red rubber. And then we'll do the other ramp. And we'll do the same thing, hide them, select them all, and use rubber white. Why are those the words the different way around? Irritating. So with that done, we then launch the table. And, look, we can now see where we're going. So we now need to figure out what's going on, where goes under which, what way round they go, because obviously one goes over the other, and vice versa. So what you need to do is you need to go to your big bucket of photos that you've done loads of research and tried to find where everything is on the table, and then go down and go and look at a picture so you know what's going on. So here we can see that the beast bone ramp on the left goes underneath this other ramp, obviously. Um, Goes around the top and then comes back over the top of the entrance on the other side. So starts off lower, ends up higher. And it looks like the um, other ramp, the right ramp, is pretty low all the way around. It's You can have a look at the photos so you get an idea of things like, yeah, the gradient seems pretty shallow. You can obviously see the gradient there is a lot shallower than the gradient there, so that's a lot less steep than this one. You can also see how low that ramp comes in on this left-hand side. I mean, that's barely above the plastics. Plastics are about 53 high, ish, so that ramp's probably coming in at between 55 and 60 high, so pretty low. Um, Enough to give a ball clearance. A pinball is 50 VP units high, so you always need your 50 VP clearance, which brings us on to this ramp clearing over the top of this one. So at the moment, everything's set at 75 high. Obviously, the issue with this is that this is the entrance ramp. Now, first of all, that's a one-piece ramp with just a control point top and bottom. We don't want that. We want a control point in the middle. For some reason, VPX will occasionally throw a wobbly and balls will just fall through the ramp if there's no middle control point. But if we put one here, at the moment you'll see that's 25. The real height is at 25. This ramp that goes over it is at 75. So if that's 25 and that's 75, that gives us 50 clearance, which is barely enough for a pinball. But also, we know that this ramp here needs to be higher than this one. So at the moment this is 75, so this control point needs to be at least 125, if not 130 high. So we need to then sort of figure out what we're going to do with that, because this is what one of the more difficult jobs. If you've got someone who's got access to the table and the tape measure and they can take exact measurements for you, this is very easy. Unfortunately for us, it's a case of a little bit of trial and error and things like using using everything around you as a reference. So for example, if you know a pinball's 50 high and this area here, that's probably 50 high, that's probably 50 high. So you know this is probably 100, about 90 high ish. So we know this needs to clear this. This looks like I'm going to set this at 90. So all these at 90. This goes 90 to 0. What that does mean now is, because this is 90 high, this point here is 75 high. Well, we've made, in an effort to clear this ramp properly, we've now made it so that this ramp is taller than the other one, and that's clearly not the case. So what we need to do then is figure out this one up here. So if we look at this, as this come round 90 high, as this come round, it obviously goes underneath this other ramp. And it looks like its high point is probably here as part of the curve. I mean, we can see if we can find any other photos to sort of give us any correlation on that. And there we go. You can see it coming up. Yeah, it sort of seems to level off around here. We can mess around with it fine tuning later. So what this actually means is the high point is here. So we'll get rid of the right ramp. Oh no, get rid of the left ramp. So we're just left with this ramp. So the high point is, say, here. What we want to do is, we can do this the long way or the short way. We'll do this the easy way. So this is ramp left. So make this ramp left bottom. Then we copy it, paste it, and then rename this one top. What we can do is, with this selected, if you right click, you'll see they're both there. Down in the menu, it lets you select top or bottom. And also, whatever you click is at the top in the sequence. So if you click on nothing, then click on it, right click, top's at the top. If you want to draw it at the back, you can throw it to the back. Now if you click on it, bottom's first in the list. So whatever you click on is at the top of that list. So we want to select top. I'll make it to draw it in the front. So when you click on it, it's top. Press plus, throw it to a new layer. This is just easier to manage all the way around. Now we said the high point's probably about here. So we're going to select this ramp, select these control points, and delete them. Now we're left with this. Hide that ramp, bring the new ramp back. And now this is a boring bit. We go through and we delete all of the other control points. A bit long and laborious, but sometimes VPX do be like that. Make sure you don't select the ramp as well, which will highlight it, otherwise it will delete the entire ramp. So you can shift click, get rid of stuff. So there and there, so click your new bit of ramp. You can click back on right ramp and click the button, the finger, to assign it to that layer. So we're all back on one layer again. We won't bother fixing it too much. Actually, you can fix it. I'll show you how to fix it. So when you've got this, if you split it on a curve, you have left and right, you need to make a little point either side of it, and then move it towards it and adjust it. Now you don't want to adjust the meeting point. You want to adjust around it so that it's like that. We'll leave it like that for now. It's good enough. So we've now got 0 to 75. and 75, 75, 75, 75. Bring this other ramp back. So we know here is 90 high. So this needs to be, if you have a pinball on there, that's 140 high. So this needs to be at least 150, if not 160. So if we say the top height here is 160, the bottom height is 75, but actually we want a constant radius. So what we might actually do down here is, this is a way of cheating to find out a constant radius. We add another point. Now with this one, we select the original ramp, select the control point at the bottom, select the control point of the new ramp, paste it, and that gives us, we'll put a new control point so we can actually go there, copy, paste. So what we can do here is, we know we want it to be 160 to 0. So the high point here is a constant curve all the way through, a constant gradient, sorry, all the way through. But we want this nice shape at the bottom. So we look at this one and we know, right, this control point is actually 101.6592. So we take this and we make the top height of this 101.6592. We get rid of that point and we make the bottom height of this one. So now we've got 101.6592, 101.6592. So in that way you'll get a consistent gradient through two separate ramps. We want to make the top height of this one 160. We've actually made a little bit of a mistake here, but we'll cross that bridge in a bit. So that will give us that ramp coming up over there. Now, as you can see, we've made the walls 50 high, so we can see how high the balls are. That wall intersects through there. So either this ramp needs to be lower or this ramp needs to be higher. So stop intersecting it. But again, one of the things we have to look for now is outline. Look at the blueprint. So we know there's a wall here on the blueprint and there's a wall here. So we look at our reference materials. We should have a photo somewhere of that area. There we go, look at that. That's what we need. Right, so a little bit blurry, but we know there's a wall there and a wall there, which is actually a little bit low, which gives you a clue that they wanted some clearance there. But a pinball has to be able to travel under there. So this point has to be 50 high. That's not non-negotiable, has to be 50 high. This bit here, that wall is probably 45 high. It's a little bit lower. You can see the way they've done the kicker has given it a bit of clearance because the hole's longer compared to this one, which is much bigger. So if we look at where that is there, solid, put a control point in so we can see what the height is. So 50, that's probably about right. That gives us a clearance. We check back here. Right, so this is now 34 high. So 34 plus 50 is 84, 85. So that gives us 5 clearance. So that's about right. So we've got the clearance over there. 130, 90. See, we haven't got the clearance here. At this point here, it's 130 and that's 90. So we've got a 10 point clash. Unfortunately, I messed around earlier and deleted the other bit. So what we need to do now is get rid of these control points, do what we did before, actually, what we want to do, because I made a bit of a mistake here, we want to make this bit here, copy, paste down here. So this has got to go back to 0, 0 to 160. Now we know it needs to be higher. So it needs to be, we'll try 170. And then we check that control point. So 90 plus 50 is 140. That's 138. That's not good enough. We're going to bump that up to 180. 147 versus 90. So that's plenty big enough now. In fact, that's probably overkill. So if we say 175, because the clearances on these things are tight. So 143, 90. So that gives us 43 clearance. I'm going to actually, comes up, it's going really fast around there. I'm going to go for clearance. We can adjust it later on if we need to make adjustments. So now I've made this 180, I have to remember to make this 182. For the time being, make that 180. So we look back at this point again. So copy the top of the control point, add a new one. Right, that control point now is at 114. Make that the top height of that one. Make that the bottom height of that one. So this gives us again our constant radius up to 180 here. So that gives us clearance there for ready. Now we have to go back and check this. See the clearance again. 38 and 90, which gives us 52. That's super tight. So it might catch on the bottom of the ramp. Also, so a lot of this is messing around trying to figure out what you're trying to do, and we're just working through the process here. So we'll have a quick look at it. As you can see, we've now got this massively up in the air, and this one is also far too far up in the air. So we make the bottom of this one. Actually, we need to figure out if it's the bottom, which it's not, because this ramp's upside down. So it's the top height. We make that 60. We make the bottom of this ramp 60. And now you'll see that the way that it's come in like that, it's crossing over. But what we've now done is, because we've dropped this one, we might have 78. So this is 38. This is 78. So it's only 40 difference. So although we've started the ramp here, what we actually need to do is what we did before. So make this ramp, right ramp bottom. I'm going to copy it, paste it, and we're going to call it right ramp, I don't know, mid. Chuck it to the new layer because it's easier. Get rid of the old one. Now we want to keep that at 90 and only start decreasing in gradient at this point. So we're going to delete the bottom part of this ramp. So we're just left with that top bit. And on this part, we are going to delete the top bit. I've selected the whole ramp by accident, so before I do anything else, I will get rid of that. I'll do the same thing, put it back on the same layer. So now we've got split this up. We keep this at 90 to 60. We put this one back as 90 to 90. The table gradient itself will make the ball fall the right way, so it can be flat. So now we've got our clearance back on this ramp. So if we now look at the table, we've now got a set of ramps which look roughly right. I'm not entirely pleased with the white ramp, so that might get tweaked, but I don't want this video to take 2 weeks. And obviously this is so you can see how much of a complicated process this is, and having resources really is worth its weight in gold. But that is pretty much how you mess around with ramps and how to adjust them. It just takes time. You can just go back and keep checking. And now is also a good time to do things like, once you spent all that time doing that, what you're going to do, File, Save As, 2, and then version bump it. These files are tiny, 63 meg, and that's with the massive playfield image. If you want to put in the playfield image and you want to scale it down to something smaller, these files can be really small. Keep on saving new versions so you can go back in case you go in there and you accidentally delete a load of stuff. It doesn't take any hard drive space. Once you get a few versions through, you can start to delete the old ones. But to be honest, everyone has enough hard drive space, not worry about that. So go crazy, keep backups, keep old versions. It will save you a ton of time in the event of something silly happening. Okay.